we will be talking about cycling in two countries, two neighboring countries on the top of the Adriatic Sea, a little bit to the south of Central Europe, namely Slovenia and Croatia. Our agency, which is based in Slovenia, offers mountain bike tours in both countries, plus in the neighboring countries, which will be shown a little bit later. But now let's just introduce ourselves once more. We are two hosts with you. Matic was the first one who talked to you. My name is Andrei, I am on the left. Both of us are experienced guides. We were guiding different groups, I mean hiking groups, cycling groups, tour groups for about 20 years. We also are passionate hikers, bikers, trail runners. Matic is also an experienced caver. And in the company, in Visit Good Place, we are responsible for the route development. So we are creating new trails, new routes, which are then offered as, let's say, new tours through Slovenia, Croatia, and neighboring countries. Matic is also the co-founder of our agency, and I am the one who is responsible to organize the best possible guides, which you can get for guided tours if you decide to join us on our guided tours. Matic?
I will proceed from here on and give you a short introduction on our agency and a few more things. If there is anyone joining us tonight who already listened to yesterday's presentation about our touring program, then yeah, let me tell you, this will be almost the same or quite similar. So in the first few minutes, yeah, just enjoy it again, or you can also skip it. But after that, we will continue with the mountain bike problem, as Andrei mentioned. One thing that I would really like to point out regarding our agency, yeah, you can see it on the slide, but we are actually, so to speak, a small tour operator, but locally driven, boutique, and very responsible. We are really committed to sustainability, not only on paper, although we have also officially several sustainable certificates like Travel Life and Slovenia Green, and above all, also the B Corp certificate, which is, we are actually the first B Corp certified company in Slovenia, and B Corp being the highest sustainability standard in the world is something that we are really proud to, that we have achieved. So far, we must say our guests rated us very well. We are top 5 stars rated on different social platforms like TripAdvisor, Google, Facebook, and similar. And besides our guests recognition, which is the most important for us, of course, there was also a lot of recognition in world renewed cycling and other outdoor media. Actually, our products were named top products since the year of 2020 until 2024 now by National Geographic, Lonely Planet, Guardian, and of course they were presented in many others which are stated here below on this slide. Actually, if anyone is more interested on this topic, you're very welcome to browse through our webpage. With each tour presentation, you can also find a reference to the media coverage, and yeah, you can check also the article which talks about unique tours, etc. At the beginning, we would like to give you a little bit insight to our, let's say, core database. This picture on the left side of the slide is actually, figuratively speaking, taken from the far away. It's hard to show all the detail, but with these thin red lines, which are overlapping and streaming around Slovenia, Croatia, and a little bit Austria and Italy as well, Those lines represent over 10,000 kilometers of very exact tracks, all of them traced by ourselves, checked regularly. All this is actually the basis from which we build or design our tours, those which you can try and do by yourselves if coming to Slovenia and if touring with our Visit Good Place agency. So far, we can offer 6 different touring programs, 5 mountain bike tours, 4 gravel, 2 hiking, and we also have one special, a little bit different to the others, which is a wildlife watching tour, following the bears in the deep woods of the Kočevje region. All these diverse cycling tracks, as mentioned, cover 4 countries, and you can imagine all this mileage, all these 10,000 plus kilometers require quite some work for us. But maybe we didn't mention at the beginning, both Andrei and I are, by our profession, we are dedicated to spatial informatics, Andrei being geographer, and myself, I am geodesist and also specialized in cartography. So this gives us a lot of, let's say, in-depth knowledge to prepare really precise data, because we strongly believe that good spatial information is somehow core importance for everyone to go touring, especially by himself or herself on a self-guided tour. Mentioning self-guided tours, let me point out the main difference in type of the tours we offer. Of course, guided tours are, let's say, the easiest way to do the tour, but not in a bad sense, but mostly the easiest in a way that you don't have to worry about anything. You just come to Slovenia, maybe we even pick you up on the airport, but from that point, we take care for everything regarding booking for your accommodation, your daily meals, your daily transfers. Your cycling guide will take care for a precise navigation. He or she will listen to your needs. He will be able to offer you special variations of the tour. You can choose between sometimes harder, easier, etc. Everything can be somehow tailored to the group needs. On the other hand, self-guided tour requires a bit more experienced cyclist, or one has to be able to use nowadays digital navigation and then go on the tour by himself, but still we take care for everything else, for all the logistics regarding booking, regarding luggage transfer, regarding return transfer at the end of the tour and similar. Besides guided and self-guided tours, of course, there is a third option, tailor-made tour. That means we can prepare a custom tour specially tailored to your needs. So not only taking a tour out from our program and doing it exactly as it is supposed to be done, but we can really make it suitable for some special needs regarding different tour point starts and difficulties, trail difficulties, etc. So that picture from before with all these red lines actually gives us the ability to do so. And we're really happy that we somehow succeeded over the last few years to establish that kind of service. Besides all this logistic, of course, we offer bike rentals. We have a big fleet of bikes, almost 80 bikes now. We regularly change them. They're from fairly new to top 3 years old. Of course, we maintain them regularly during the season, especially after the season and so on. We cover all the segments like touring, cycling, e-bikes, gravel bikes, and of course, mountain bikes as well, from regular hardtail bikes to full suspension bikes as well. So yeah, this is something we also think it's really important, because at the end of the day, the bike is the main mean of transport and just has to be perfect, and it has to work without any difficulties. And here is the support mentioned. Let's say under support, we can offer, or we do offer, a very extensive briefing, online briefing with each group, like 2 or 3 weeks before you actually come to Slovenia and before you start the tour. We present you all the special characteristics, what to expect, how to prepare. We give you in very deep insights about the terrain, about each stage and so on. We actually talk directly with you and give you something similar like now, but more specially focused on the tour you are going to do, you booked, etc. And for the self-guided tours, as well as partially for the guided, we prepare a very extensive navigational pack. I will just give you a few more words about that with this slide. In the last year or so, now it's the second year going on, yeah, we changed a little bit our system of delivering spatial data to our guests. We tested several applications. It's hard to say which one is the best because each one has its advantages, maybe some disadvantages as well. But we were most satisfied with Ride with GPS, US-based made application. Maybe it's therefore more renewed in the United States, but also in Europe, it's becoming more and more popular, actually worldwide popular. Maybe the European guests are familiar also with Komoot or Outdoor Active or any others, but as mentioned, we tailored Ride with GPS to our special needs, and therefore we are very happy and very satisfied with our first years of using it. Through the Ride with GPS, we can prepare special packages which are downloaded to your mobile devices and can be used offline altogether with precise GPS data, with all the maps of the specific layer of the Ride with GPS map for different zoom levels, of course. All the tiles are downloaded to your phone. Also with extensive guide or booklet with all the information regarding the itinerary, everyday activities, your accommodations, points of interest along the way, weather forecast, online weather forecast for each stage, locally based. So we really try to give you actually one link which gives you all totally all-inclusive information, so to speak, and this is all you need when you go on the tour. It's possible to prepare paper versions as well, to do some downloads and prints of the PDF booklet and also the maps. And also for those who are keen on using GPS tracks with special navigational devices like Garmin and similar, they can also download the tracks from the application and then use them, upload them to a specific special navigational device as mentioned. So now we're coming to the, let's say, the core content of today's presentation. We will talk about cycling in Slovenia and Croatia. Today's focus is on mountain bike tours. We will show you all of our tours that we offer briefly, some of them more into detail, but we will talk in general about all, like Trans-Slovenia. And then we will go more into the detail with our new Trans-Croatia Istria mountain bike tour, maybe compare it a little bit with another Trans-Croatia mountains to islands. So this is somehow our goal to give you some insights on our mountain bike program. After we finish, of course, there will be time for questions and answers, as Andrei mentioned at the beginning. But firstly, let us proceed with some general introduction about the region. Andrei will give you some insights, what to expect in the countries where you're going, hopefully, to travel with us.
Yeah, at this point, I would like to emphasize that it's actually a great fun and relatively easy to work in adventure tourism if you live in Slovenia and if you have Croatia at your doorstep. We are talking about two countries which represent only a small portion of Europe, but they are extremely diverse, talking about landscapes primarily. And this is the biggest advantage of outdoor tourism here, and especially when we are talking about mountain biking or cycling in general. If you imagine that the landscape and the views, but also the culture and the heritage actually change after every couple of kilometers, you can believe me that cycling is never boring. And apart from doing exercise and sport on the trails, you will also get familiar with many aspects of this beautiful part of Europe. Here you have some photos showing you Slovenia, so our home country. And the predominant color here is, as you can see, green. Slovenia is not just a green country in political sense. I would like to talk about agenda of green politics, sustainability, and so on. But we are also one of the leading countries in Europe, considering the percentage of forests on our territory. About 60% of Slovenia is under forest, which is also a pleasant news for all of you who would like to come here, for example, in summer, when the temperatures rise, but there is always the freshness in the forests. Let's just watch a short clip. Once again, greenery everywhere. Slovenia is positioned on the southern side of the Alps, just across the border, just across the northern border of our country lies Austria, and just across the border to the west is northern Italy. But this is the sunny side of the Alps, and when you will visit, and if you will visit us, you will cycle through the puzzle of forests and mountain greenery, as you can see here, mountain pastures full of cattle grazing here in summertime. Local herdsmen produce delicious cheese, and so on and so on. We are primarily talking about mountain biking today, but you can believe me that our tours are planned this way that you will have enough time to try some other activities in the afternoon or in the morning. It depends about the planning of the daily stage, because Slovenia is actually an outdoor paradise, perfect also for hiking, swimming, water sports, especially whitewater rafting, kayaking, canyoning, and so on. But also some more relaxing things like, for example, fly fishing. Slovenia's rivers are very rich on fish, and people searching for something like that can also find their places here. On the video clip on the bottom left corner, you can see Slovenian section of the Adriatic Sea. It's very short, but we are proud to share part of the Adriatic Sea with spectacular Venetian-style towns like Piran in this case. Upper left photo shows you the most beautiful river in the country, which is the Soča. And in the bottom right corner, I guess you recognize it, it's the iconic photo from Slovenia, Lake Bled in the Alps with its very famous little island. At the end of the day, or for lunchtime, of course, people get hungry, especially athletes, especially bikers. I must tell you that Slovenia and Croatia are positioned on crossroads of Europe. If you look at the map, you will see where we are, between Central Europe, between Balkans, between Mediterranean and Eastern Europe, and all these influences actually come together in these places, which is not only shown in the heritage, in languages, in culture and history, but also and especially in local cuisine. Our cuisine is a mixture of different influences, but made in a modern way in these days. And you can believe me that in many cases, your stages, your tours will pass famous restaurants which were also presented by international awards, most notably by Michelin stars. So if you are searching for something like that, you will find special restaurants also in Slovenia and in Croatia, where you will be able to taste something really delicious. If we move just across the border into Croatia, of course, everyone knows Croatia, and the first tip about Croatia is for 95% of the people, I guess, the Adriatic coastline, which is, without exaggerating, one of the most beautiful stretches of Mediterranean coastline in general. But Croatia is more than just its coast, and you will experience that if you will do some mountain biking in our neighboring country, because the trails, which will also follow, let's say, the coastline and partly the islands, will also take you inland, and you will see the dramatic change of landscapes just, let's say an hour away from the Adriatic Sea, you will be deep in the primeval forests, or in other cases, like here on the photo in the bottom left, just a couple of kilometers away from the coast, you will cross spectacular hilltop towns full of rich architecture, full of history, stories, great culinary delicacies like Istrian olive oil, wine, truffles, which are very famous there. And altogether, Croatia offers you stunning viewpoints from many corners of the trails. So I am sure that you will do many stops cycling through Croatia, not because of lack of energy, because I know that you are all full of energy, but because of the views, photo opportunities, and so on. Croatia has very rich history and culture. The upper left photo shows you the Roman amphitheater in Pula in Istria, which ranks among the biggest in the world. The upper right photo shows you the Dalmatian town of Split, actually the second biggest city in Croatia. And as I mentioned, in the bottom left, you can see the forests, not far away from the sea, but completely different landscape. Or some of the islands in Croatia, like the island Krk, for example, which is part of our Mountains to Islands tour, shows almost a desert-like landscape, which has these old patterns of dry stone walls and similar, and you will cross such regions if you decide to join us. A short video clip made by drone. This is the southern tip of Istrian Peninsula. The trails will take you very close to the coastline, and one thing which I must mention here, the seasons. The weather is changing, every season gets a little bit warmer, and our cycling seasons are extending, which means that you can come to Croatia in late April or beginning of May to cycle along the coastline, or you can do the same also in late September or even throughout October. The only exception can be some tours which go a little bit inland through Croatian mountains and forests. Because of some snow conditions in spring, the season is a little bit shorter, but in general, you can plan your activities here between May 1st and the end of October. And even the Adriatic Sea is warm enough deep into October, so you can enjoy some spectacular swimming here after the stage or between the stages. Matic?
Okay, let us proceed to our tours, mountain bike tours presentation. This is the title slide. On this map, you can see them all depicted. Now I will just go to a more detailed map just to give you a bit more insights about the tours we offer. So let us zoom a little bit out again. Andrei was talking before about the location of Slovenia and Croatia. It's the very center of Europe, in the top of the Mediterranean Bay, actually Adriatic Sea being a huge bay of the Mediterranean Sea. And here is Slovenia, this slightly chicken-shaped country, and here is Croatia neighboring it. On the other side, Slovenia surrounded by Italy, Austria, and Hungary. But nevertheless, the treks, the tours we will talk about today lie mostly in Slovenia and Croatia. Let us start from west to east. Firstly, this is Trans-Slovenia 1. Why number 1? Because it's the first one of the Trans-Slovenia tours we established. It's actually our bestseller. It's very well-known tour. It has really alpine character. You can see in a little bit less than 400 kilometers, you have to overcome more than 10,000 meters of elevation through 7 stages of cycling. And every day you can enjoy several quite spectacular trails or scenery in the mountains and further down south in the Socha Valley, in the Karst region, all the way to the coast. If we proceed towards the east, here in the middle is the second of the Trans-Slovenian tours. It is a bit different because mostly because of slightly less demanding terrain. So it's less difficult, it's more medium difficulty, and it covers different destinations as well, from Kranjska Gora to Bled Lake, to Bohinj Lake, Pokljuka Forest, and then it proceeds down south, similar to the Karst region and to the Adriatic Sea, where it ends on the same location as the Trans-Slovenia one in the small Venetian town of Piran. And even further towards the east, this diagonal tour, that was the fourth of the Trans-Slovenian we established, so we left it with this name, but it has an addition in its name. It's called Stop Single Trails Tour. This is Trans-Slovenia number 4, starting in the northern Carinthia, bordering Austria, and then going towards the Karavanke mountain range, touching the Kamnik-Savinja Alps, and going down to the center of Slovenia, actually through the capital of Ljubljana. One would say this is the area with the less trails, but it couldn't be mistaken more, because Ljubljana is really a unique pearl in that aspect, because there are trails actually entering directly the city center, so to speak. I will talk about this a little bit more later. And then from Ljubljana, proceeding through the Notranjska region to the vast forest, and then to the hills and small, let's say, not mountains anymore, but still quite high hills towards the Karst region, and ending at the same point in Piran. So you can see the common point of all those 3 Trans-Slovenia tours is ending here in Piran. And talking about customizing the tour, you see actually the one we will try, or we will present today most, is this one, Istria Mountain Bike Tour, Trans-Croatia Istria Mountain Bike Tour. It actually starts where all the other Trans-Slovenia tours end, in Piran. So if someone decides, yeah, I want to do a part of Istria, a part of Trans-Slovenia, why not? You can start in Ljubljana, do a 3/4 of Trans-Slovenia, and then continue like half of Trans-Croatia, Istria, to the tip of the Istria Peninsula near Pula, or something similar. Just to give you an example what the customization actually means, or what we can offer. Trans-Croatia Istria Mountain Bike Tour is fairly new. It is last year, previous year, we launched it for the first time, and it already it was very well accepted by first guests. Why? Because it actually starts at the sea, but then it goes inland. It avoids a little bit, it will take you off the most popular touristic places, but still it will touch them as well. So you have the opportunity of enjoying the seaside along the western, let's say, more touristic coast, but then it will take you to the eastern coast of the Istria Peninsula, which is totally deserted. It's hard to explain. There are so long distances without meeting anybody, any settlement, any people, etc. So it's really, really nice and remote cycling, all the way to the Učka Massif, which is very well known from the top of Učka, or just below the top of the highest peak of Učka region. The views to the Kvarner Bay and the islands of the northern Kvarner we open, and this is the best way to finish the tour with a long, over 1,000 meters long descent directly on the coast of the Adriatic. But a little bit more about this later. And the last one, the Trans-Croatia Mountains to Islands Tour, Andrei was talking about it already. This is the one taking the first part over the Velebit range, which is quite high, and therefore maybe not so good for pre-season time, because in late April there is still possible to get some snow depending on the yearly weather conditions. But then it continues down to the islands of Rab and Krk, which are very well known for being actually a mountain bike paradise. There are so many well-maintained trails. They have their specifics in terms of technical demanding, or let's say surface. They're very stony and so on, but perfect for all levels of mountain bike expertise. So today, mostly about this one, Trans-Croatia Istria, and then a little bit more about the others as well. So let us continue with our presentation. Firstly, about the mountain bike tours in general. You can see on this slide some general statistics, our tours last from 8 to 9 days, depending on the tour. Each of them is, let's say, consists of different quantity or different percentage of mountain bike trails, but everyone has it. There are lots of forest and local unpaved roads as well to connect the regions with trails. Most of the stages will require a whole day of cycling, but some of them are also shorter to give you an opportunity to regain some energy at the end of the day and prepare for the, let's say, next day stage, which might be more demanding. All of the tours are suitable either for full suspension mountain bikes. Some of them, those of less demanding, can be done also by hardtail mountain bikes or e-bikes, of course, as well, either fully or hardtail. Why am I pointing this out? Of course, an experienced rider can do everything with a hardtail mountain bike as well, or even without suspension, but it won't be such a joy as to do it with a full suspension bike, especially those tours in the Kvarner or Velebit or on the island, because as mentioned, they are very rocky and suspension is quite necessary for a comfortable ride. All of the tours actually are somehow medium to, they have fitness levels from medium to high, depending on the stage you choose. I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, usually we have, not usually, always, we have different difficulties for each stage of each tour. We go with the classic tour, which offers the best mountain bike experience, but then you have also easier versions in case of, I don't know, bad weather, in case of you don't feel so well, you want to make your day shorter and so on. Of course, you lose some of this basic character of the tour by taking easier. There will be less trails, etc. But still, this is good to have it as an escape option. Sometimes we offer also harder options for someone who wants to do even more elevation, even harder trails and so on. The average distance is somehow between 45, 60K, but of course, some of the stages are also a bit longer. Even elevation, yeah, around 1,000, let's say 1,500 as well, quite common, but some of the stages, these are very few. You have to cover even more, up to 2,000, but these are really extreme, and they belong under this harder section, which I was talking about. On each of the stages, we can really guarantee you to experience really stunning landscapes, very diverse mountain bike trails. You will have the opportunity to ride through different historic towns. You will have the opportunity to experience different UNESCO protected sites, already mentioned some like Roman or other heritage or natural heritage as well, which is under UNESCO protection. So quite rich in that cultural, historical meaning as well. Let us proceed to Translovenia 1. We'll go briefly through it. As mentioned, this is a 7 stages tour, almost 400 kilometers, taking the classic stages. This one, yeah, it's a little bit less than 10,000 meters of elevation, but by doing harder versions, you would do it much more. It covers all the, let's say, most interesting regions in Slovenia for mountain biking, from Julian Alps in the north and down to the Adriatic coast. And you will do this in only 7 days. You will really experience very big diversity between the Alpine region, then along the Socha River, through the vineyards of the Goriška border region, Vipava Valley region, Karst region as well, although being very stony, but still also very well known about its wines and mostly about underground world. There are many caves, actually. You have also the opportunity to visit some. And you will start in Austria on the northern side of Karavanke Ridge, cycle through Slovenia mostly, in between visit Italy as well, and finish in Slovenia. So it's 3 countries in just 1 week. Again, this is the map briefly in the western part of Slovenia. Here at the top, the mountain region, in the middle, the Socha Valley, and down over Goriška Brda to Karst region and down to the Adriatic. Few photo impressions from the main characteristical landscape you can experience on Translovenia 1. Of course, it's Julian Alps. You actually don't cycle to the very top of the rocky summits. Of course, they are not accessible by bikes, at least most of them, but you have to cross the highest pass in Slovenia, which is Vršič, the highest one doable by, which has a road over it, so to speak. You will climb up to the top of the, or just below the top of the Stol mountain, above the Socha Valley, then up to the Matajur mountain with a 12 kilometers epic single trail ride down on it to Italy. So you really experience this alpine character in the first few days. Socha Valley, another very characteristic thing. I guess I don't want it to sound too cocky or something, but Socha is definitely known as one of the most beautiful European rivers. It's very clear. It has its specific smaragd color because of the limestone riverbed, and with the blue skies, you get this special greenish color. It's suitable, of course, for swimming as well, although being quite cold, even in the summer. It's totally clear in the first few days following such a river, easy to drink as well in the upper stream. So yeah, it's something quite special nowadays. You can experience. The other regions will be covered with the other tours since they share it with Translovenia 1, Karst and the coastal region. So I will now go to the Translovenia 4. This is the one diagonally crossing Slovenia, also 7 stages, similar length, a little bit less of elevation, but this tour has a total different character. You can see it actually here in the video. This is the starting part in the Carinthia region in the single trail park Jemnica. Besides this single trail park, you also have the opportunity to visit bike park Pecen nearby and other trail centers along the route. Something that makes it special is cycling through the capital and endless trails around it. And another thing which is also very unique is cycling underground in the abandoned tunnels of the mine below the Peca mountain. This is optional. It can be done only as a guided tour, but all the tracks we offer, they can lead you to the entrance, and then it's possible to arrange separately either the classic route through the tunnels, which is technically not demanding, it's just very interesting, but there is also another offer for experienced riders. You can do also enduro downhill through the several floors of this abandoned mine, which is really, really spectacular. But as mentioned, this is for really experienced enduro riders. This is the map of Translovenia 4, as shown before, crossing the Slovenia from the northeast down to the southwest in the Piran region. From Carinthia region through Kamniško-Savinjske Alps, you can see them here on the picture as well, and then over the center Ljubljana down to the Karst and to the sea. Some photo impressions, again, forests of Carinthia region and Karavanke region with very nice natural trails. Actually, the tour starts in single trail park Jemnica. You can arrange, or we can arrange additional starting day for riding just those trails because you have lots to do on the first day if you choose so, just before proceeding towards the following destinations. Then you will actually encircle the Kamnik-Savinja Alps. This is totally on the other side, the view to the Kamnik-Savinja Alps. And then from the opposite, from Velika Planina, you can see it here, the same mountain peaks from the opposite direction. And just a short glimpse to the underground experience, it looks something like this. As mentioned, it has to be guided since, to put it simply, without a guide, you get lost. There are so many tunnels, so many options to turn, and yeah, it's necessary to do it with a proper equipment and with an experienced and very well-informed guide. Proceeding towards the center of Slovenia, as I said, you will end up your day in Ljubljana, the capital, which is very green, and I'm not exaggerating, but less than a kilometer before the end of the tour, you will still be riding on the trails over the small green hills, almost inside the city, not almost, but inside the city circle. So Slovenia, being a small country and very diverse, offers many, many opportunities to experience this diversity in a very short time, or let's say in a reasonably short distance. So here you can still see the Velika Planina pastures, some hills around Ljubljana, and also the plateau over Rakitna town, which will guide you further on towards south, towards the karst region where the green color just repeats all the time, of course, depending on the time of the year you're visiting Slovenia, but still natural trails like this inside the forest, on the karst, between the vineyards, remote landscape between the forest, but still with some open views, a little bit drier landscape in the karst area, start proceeding towards the karst with the views to the first mountains. And of course, if the weather was clear on this picture, you would see it's possible also to see the Kamnik Slovenia Alps and Julian Alps behind here as well. So those views actually accompany you all the way to the coast, even from Piran. With a clear day, like now in winter times, you can enjoy the view of Triglav Mountain being the highest peak in Julian Alps, although being like 300 kilometers away, but still it seems like being very close. All the way to the end, some nice trails, and of course, some easy, relaxing coastal ride to hit the final destination in the Venetian town of Piran. This tour is best done in summertime, or early summer and late summer. Of course, in the midsummer, it can be too hot for the last two stages, but still the perfect way to finish the tour is, of course, with a dip into the refreshing Adriatic Sea and affording yourself a nice seafood dinner, as long as you prefer it that way. Yeah, but there are other options, of course, as well. Okay, Trans-Slovenia tours briefly, and now we move to Trans-Croatia. This tour is, as mentioned a few times before, suitable for the shoulder period, shoulder season. So sometimes after the high peak season ends and before, let's say, the actual end of the season, this period, either in the springtime or in the late autumn, the time slot is carefully picked, so it can give you the opportunity to still enjoy cycling without being too cold, and also without being too hot, and also without being too crowded, to be honest, because sometimes you visit also some destinations which are very popular with tourists in high season, but we really chose them carefully, and especially the timing, so it's much more enjoyable for riding in this time. It's really a great combination between the Adriatic Sea and some hidden trails inland. As mentioned, it encircles the Istria Peninsula with some jumps deeper inland, and on the way you will really see a lot, especially regarding picturesque towns like this one on the picture, Motovun, and a lot of good wine and good food can be experienced on the way as well. Before I proceed to the pictures to present you with the sections of the Istria tour, let me just show you once more a little bit on the map. So this is the tour we are talking now about, just to have the impression. It's divided in 7 stages, starting in Piran. The first section, following the abandoned railway Parenzana, once connected Trieste with Poreč, here Parencio, but in Italian language, but it doesn't follow the easy gravel road. It will take you left and right along the interesting mountain bike trails, also stopping in Groznan, the famous by Groznan Enduro event, with several very nice local trails all the way to Motovun, and then following trails back down towards the western coast, encircling a little bit the deep bay of Lim Bay, resembling a sort of a fjord. Actually, of course, it's not a fjord as we know them from the Scandinavian countries, but it's just a dried out bay of the riverbed, and now it's flooded with sea. And then you get back to the western coast, to Rovinj, a little bit back inland, all the way to the tip of the Istrian Peninsula. On this peninsula named Kamenjak, this is really a trail paradise. It's more cross-country character, but very, very fun to ride. And then the remoteness of the eastern region, eastern coast, begins following the coast towards Rabat, which is also famous for Rabat trails. And then the last king stage, this one being the hardest, with over 1500 meters of elevation to conquer, almost to the top, slightly below the highest peak of Učka Massif, and then with a view over Kvarner Islands and Kvarner Bay, descending down to Mošćenička Draga, directly on the coast. To see this, what I was talking about in pictures, to have a better impression, this is the first section along the old Parenzana Railway. Parenzana Railway was operating in the in the first years of the 20th century for about 33 years. Then it was abandoned. It was by that time it was an important connection between inland and the Trieste for transporting agricultural goods and salt and stones for quarries, etc. Nowadays it was transformed into a very pleasant cycling and hiking trail. But as mentioned, you only do some sections. Although Parenzana consists of, I don't know exactly, but I think it's almost 10 different tunnels and over 6 viaducts and bridges. You cross only some of them because for the mountain bikers, you can choose to go left and right, do lots of detours and enjoy very nice trails on the way, returning back to Parenzana and doing the last stretches of the day easily on gravel just to gain some energy. Reaching the west coast will give you a different impression of the tour. This is the Limbe I was talking about. You actually encircle it slightly. There are just few viewpoints, but you can see deep down on the sea. From it, you ride along this Limbe and around it and finish the day in the old town of Rovinj, resembling Piran quite in many aspects, but still different. And then you continue from the west coast towards the very tip of the Istrian Peninsula, the mentioned Kamenjak Peninsula, visiting nearby Pula with its rich Roman heritage and ending, or let's say stopping before ending the day on the very tip of the peninsula with high cliffs with a possibility of swimming in the crystal clear Adriatic water as well. From Kamenjak Peninsula, you turn back towards north, following the eastern coastline, this time going towards the Učka Massif. Just a short interruption with a nice train ride. Don't worry, this is again another abandoned railway. Well, this one was actually abandoned a bit later in the 2009. Till then, it was operating mainly for the transport of coal towards the thermal plant, but also for the passengers. And then, yeah, it was abandoned. And here is the example of what the nature does to the man work. The land is sliding down, and nowadays this old abandoned railway became popular under the name of a drunken railway. So it's really fun to experience it. And even more, as you can see on the tour, we did a stretch of this last stage following the railway. You can choose to do it or not, but it's really a fun ride. It's really like being in an amusement park or something. All the time, nice views to the Kvarner Bay and Adriatic, lots of nice landscape with dry walls inland. And then let's say the king stage up to the Učka Massif and descending down with views like this. Kvarner Bay with the islands, with the Velebit mountains behind, island of Krk, island of Cres, just in front of you. And here you can see here below, this is the Mošćenička Draga, the end of the tour, the final destination, and you descend like this directly on the coastline, and somewhere here inside is the hotel, which awaits you to spend the last night of the tour and for us to pick you up and take you to the start point of the tour. So yeah, it's really diverse, and I must say personally, although I was involved with designing almost all of the tours we're talking about today, starting with Trans-Slovenia routes. This one is maybe one of my favorites because it's really different. You know, it's not so hardcore mountain biking, just trails, high altitude, etc. But those trails are more fun. They are more, they offer a lot besides biking as well. And most of all, they are the season of biking here in Istria is something I really like. Just for a short comparison, let me give you a few words about the mentioned another Croatia tour, Mountains to Islands. Again, similar lengths, number of stages in elevation. This is the one crossing the Velebit, Northern Velebit National Park, high up, over 1,500 meters, and then descending down to the islands of Rab and Kirk, which are really a paradise for mountain biking, but also known for lots of history and cultural remains. This is the short overview on the map, starting near Rijeka, which has good connections with other airports, and then continuing to the Velebit, following its ridge, staying high, up, all the way, taking one stop down at the seacoast in Sen, another historical town, and then climbing up again to the highest region of the northern Velebit, and then descending down directly, taking a ferry, short ferry ride, like 20 minutes, to the island of Rap, doing 2 stages on the Rap Island, taking a bit longer ferry to Kirk, sorry, and the last 2 days, enjoying carefully chosen loops of the best Kirk trails put together to really finish the tour in style. Few pictures to give you the impression of what you can see on the tour. These are the views cycling up on the Velebit. When the views open, you see down the islands. This is actually the island which you are going to visit afterwards in the last part of the tour. Inland of the Velebit, you also go on the other side of the ridge. No views to the sea, but lots of forests and views on the other side. A typical karstic terrain with lots of limestone rock formation and so on. And then the other part, the island part, what to expect from sandy beaches to nice trail descents down to the base, old oak trees in the heart of the Kirk Island, the previously mentioned desert-like Moon Plateau on the southeastern part of the Kirk. You actually cross it the whole with a bike, and yes, really diverse and really well-maintained trails, and really mentioned several times now, a paradise for mountain bikers. So this is where I finish with a photo map presentation of the tours, and now Andrei will give you some more insights on the other information regarding the tour organization.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Matic, for this detailed presentation. We are very close to the end of the meeting. I would just like to steal you 2 or 3 more minutes with some technical data, and then we go to your questions and answers. So something about prices. The price of certain tours we offer depends, of course, on the type of tour which you decide to take. The tours, as mentioned in the beginning, can be guided or self-guided. And of course, you will get detailed information about pricing if you contact us directly, or if you check our website for the tours which will be guided and are mentioned there. You will also see the prices. We were already talking about best seasons to visit us. You already got an impression during the presentation that we are touching different geographical regions. Higher mountains on one side, forests on the other side, and coastal regions on the third side. We all know how warm it gets in summertime, so we are talking about July and August, or even late June. These periods are maybe not the best to do the cycling closer to the coast. It's better to go a little bit deeper inland in these times. But on the other hand, we have the so-called shoulder seasons, which means May and the beginning of June. And on the other hand, September and October, which are perfect also for coastal regions. Just maybe one exception, the tour which was mentioned now at the end, so Trans-Croatia Mountains to Islands, is better to start, let's say, somewhere in late May because of some possible snow conditions which may be there in the beginning of May. And the same is also obvious for alpine parts of Slovenia. So for the tours which were mentioned, Trans-Slovenia 1, Trans-Slovenia 4, these tours should start, let's say, at the end of May, or even better in June. For this season, we have already scheduled some of the tours. You can see that both Trans-Slovenia tours can also be guided. For Trans-Slovenia #1, we have two possible occasions to join us in June and in August. For Trans-Slovenia #4, so this is the one crossing from Austrian border diagonally across the country to the coast, we haven't chosen the exact date so far, but we will listen to you. If you contact us and if you would like to join us on this tour, we will think about organizing the tour according to your wishes. I have already told you what are the best timings for self-guided or tailor-made tours, so between May and September for Slovenian tours. And, oops, sorry, too far away. And if we look at Croatian tours, of course, we have in May and in October, we have guided tours in Istria. And then on the other hand, in May, late May and late September, we have tours, mountains to islands, which will be guided. And on the other hand, self-guided tours, as mentioned, for Istrian part already in April, and then to the end of October. For mountains to islands, a little bit later, let's say second half of May, early June, or late September to beginning of October. Again, not too late, because the end of October can already be a little bit tricky in the mountainous part. And that's more or less everything. I would just like to present you a little bit more about what we are also doing in the agency. Apart from mountain bike tours, we offer a touring program and gravel tours. Then we also have hiking program. Some of you will probably join us tomorrow when we will present our hiking trails. And last but not least, we are trying to extend our field work a little bit more to the south, into the heart of the Balkans. If you understand geography well, you know that the so-called Dinaric mountain range is stretching from Slovenia across, let's say, former Yugoslavia, all the way down to Albania and North Macedonia. And we will connect these places with more than 3,000 kilometers long cycling route, which will be technically easy, more or less on the gravel or asphalt roads, but without some technical difficulties. And it will be a great experience to go deeper into the Balkans, to see the charms of this region. You can expect this Transdinarica route to be, let's say, officially opened in summer this year. But since we are trying to present the stories and to promote the region, we were already recognized by some important media. You can see some of them at the bottom of the slide, which presented this Transdinarica project with different titles like Best in Travel 2024 or Best Destinations to Visit in this year. So it's getting some serious and very positive echoes. By the way, I didn't mention to you that this project was co-founded by USAID, by the help of Germany, Switzerland, and Sweden, who would like to invest into the Balkan countries to develop parts of tourism which were waiting a kind of kickstart to go ahead also in this sense. Yeah, I would like to thank you a lot for joining us.